So I feel sort of bad because I'm about to burst your bubble. What happens so much of the time when pastors speak, they take this passage out of the scripture and they miss the context of the scripture. So much is missed. So I want to help you understand it better today. Yes, it's a beautiful story. I can see Kathy Pearson sitting down with her grandkids, telling them the story, because it's a beautiful story for a child, right? To understand how God creates us differently to work together to bring the body of Christ to the nations, right? It's a beautiful story. And then there's the reality. And here's reality. How many of you guys have been to ancient Corinth? Anybody? All right, we got one. I love going to Corinth. Ever since I was a child, I wanted to go to Israel and to Egypt and to Greece, and I only lack Turkey and Jordan. So, but I fell in love with the town of Corinth. It's, they had two books, right? There was two books to the Corinthians, and they must have been really special people, right? But here's the truth. Paul has this niceties, and he says, I love you, but you're having problems with infidelity. You're having problems with idolatry. You're having problems like you're arguing, is there resurrection of the dead or not resurrection of the dead? And the biggest thing around this passage they would argue over is spiritual gifts. So we look at ancient Corinth here, and you see the temple, right? This is the temple of Apollo. So Apollo, I believe, is the god of archery. And then he also, I believe, is the god of dance and music or something like that. And then his two giftings supposedly are prophecy and healing. So those are some of the showy gifts. The Christians of the time period loved the showy gifts, like speaking in tongues, like healing, all these things, all the things that stood out on the surface to make them look better. They wanted these giftings. But they're also like, if you walk around Corinth, you say, I'll never forget this. I was walking and saw this building, and I saw, here's the sign of Mark, St. Mark, the one we know in our Bible. And then here is Apollo, and here's some other god. And they're all mixed together in the same area. It's very confusing. We would never put three gods on our wall, would we? But how can we, that's how they got so confused. But even more so, okay, so I'm gonna kind of get in the way it's a little bit here, but so you assume, right? We think, oh, the Christians went to temple. Well, no, they don't go to the temple Apollo. We don't go there. And there were several temples in the town of Corinth at the time. Most of those have not been excavated that I'm aware of. But around this area were a lot of the wealthy dignitaries of the time. So the Christians actually didn't meet in a temple. They met in a home. These homes are basically sort of sort of like, what do you call it? Like they had a courtyard in the center, or they were like a square. And on one side where the dignitaries would be their housing, where they would stay and sleep. And they had these nice sitting lounge areas. They would lay back, and one of the houses was fairly intact. And on the other side was where their servants were making their food and making their stuff. But the rest of the church, when they came to that house to worship, was in the courtyard. So the dignitaries were already separate from the other part of the church. So we already have some segregations. So people are wanting to make themselves stand out by having these fancy, showy spiritual gifts. But Paul was trying to explain to them, no. What did he say? He said some of the weaker ones are actually the strongest ones. But you want the gift of tongues and all these things that everybody can see it. So to help you understand where I'm going with this, we're going to talk about the part of the body I know the best. So the eye is about an inch across. We have two of them. It's very small. It is very, very, very intricate. Now, how many of you guys have heard the eyes are the windows to the soul? We've all heard this, right? It's not exactly true. The truth is the eye is the window to your health. All right, this is something I tell someone pretty much every other day at work, a patient. So you look at an eye, right? They obviously have a dark iris. They're darker complected. Do you see the bluish ring around the eyeball? That kind of hazy ring. Do you guys see that? That is called arcus senilis. Arcus is a buildup of lipids from your cardiovascular system, and deposits in the cornea. It doesn't really hurt the cornea, the clear part of your eye. It doesn't really hurt it. But when I see that, that means their cholesterol most likely is high. When I send them in to get tested, they typically have high cholesterol or they're borderline with that. So often I'm the first person to tell them they have this problem. Forward. Okay, here are two separate eyes. The one on the left is a fairly normal eye. And on the right, you can kind of see the red spots of leakage inside there. So when your A1C gets high or your blood sugar gets higher than normal, the vessel walls start to break down and they leak. And once they leak, they start to cause damage. When the leakage goes away, there's tissue damage, there's scarring, and your vision won't be the same again. But here's the important part. Here's why I'm important as an eye doctor. Whenever I see this leakage, it's not just leaking in the eye, it's leaking in the liver, the brain, the kidneys, the hands, the feet, and everything else too. This is why it is the window to your health. I can't tell you how many diseases can be at least detected through the eye, then we have to have more tests. MS, I see about 1 every 2 months. Comes through, I think I need new glasses, Dr. Jeff. I think we got another problem. I think we need to get this tested first. It happens a lot. Now, right, so you have 2 eyes, right? So each eye has 6 muscles attached to each side, 6 muscles. So you can see them here. And basically, we won't talk about the eyelids, just the eyeball movement. There are 3 nerves that come from your brain that move each eye individually. So you technically have 12 eye muscles, and then you have 6 nerves that move it. And they have to work together at the exact same time. If they don't work together at the exact same time, what happens? You see too. So let me explain something to you. I'll put this down for a second. Let's say I tell you to look at me and look down at your bulletin. This is what actually happens. Your eyes will go from straight ahead. They will come inward, go down, and turn in at the same time. The lens will focus, and your pupils will constrict to give you better depth of field. It happens all simultaneously. If one thing doesn't happen, you will see 2. And people who see 2 are absolutely miserable. I have heard of people committing suicide because they walked around their life seeing 2 images. If you're a child and you're born with it, it's different as an adult. Your brain will start to block it out. As an adult, when you start to see 2, you will be miserable. It changes everything. Can you imagine staring at a computer and seeing 2 screens and trying to do your work all day? It would be terrible. But yet, what happens to us is that we have all these people in our church body. Since COVID, everything's changed. Part of our body is missing. They are missing. I miss them. And what happens? We are limping because we're missing nerves. We are missing arteries. We're missing pieces of our body that are not here anymore. It's time to change that. It is time to change that. Missing one nerve can change how the whole system functions. A whole system. And how our body here, our body now is hurting. The whole universal church is hurting because they're missing parts of their body. And I can tell you from going to many committee meetings and listening to committee meetings that our committees are hurting because we're missing pieces, we're missing money, we're missing this, we're missing that. And it's hard. And what happens to the rest of the body? My dad was shot in Vietnam, in his left knee. And he could walk pretty well for most of his life, but the truth is his right knee carried him. His right knee carried him for a long time. So eventually his right knee had to be replaced too, because it's carrying the burden of the other leg. Right now, parts of our body, parts of our committees and our pastors and our people in our church are carrying extra weight and they're getting tired. They're getting tired and they're missing the other parts of our body. We often say to ourselves, well, if you debated what body parts would you say were the most important? Well, most people would say one of these 2, right? Well, the heart itself is important. You know, it pumps oxygen from your lungs to the rest of your body and nutrients and all the things that you need. But nowadays they can replace it too. Now you won't live as long, your life will not be the same, but they can replace it. I have a friend who is he had to have a valve replaced. It was done with a pig valve from a pig. And he's functioning just perfectly fine. And he's happy and and we'll have a long life. So some may say the heart is the most important. A lot would say the brain. In some ways, the pastor is sort of the brain of the church. The brain of the church is one of the hardest things to replace. And whenever there's neurological damage in the body, what happens is that the nerves, they have a hard time regenerating. Some other parts of our body does. And often when they regenerate, they kind of get miswired and go to the wrong things. Like if it's a nerve in the eye, it can actually cause you to wink every time you do something else. So it can happen. It will slowly regenerate, but it's still not working quite the same way that it should. But then we have this other part. Remember we talked earlier about the soul, right? The soul, not the health, but the soul. And there's a part of our body that's in the physical part that even a lot of scientists have a hard time explaining. And I read up on a little bit more so I have more background. There is a thing, there's dopamine, there's certain things get released into our systems to make us feel certain ways, but they really can't explain why we feel emotion, why we feel love, why we feel certain things. They're getting better with it, but they don't know exactly how to explain it. And you can't say it's physically here or here. It's kind of everywhere in your system because parts of the body release these hormones that make you feel certain ways. But one of the things our church is missing is its heart, but not its physical heart, its emotional heart. Pastor Deb asked me, a year or so ago to join the committee, about a year ago to join the committee where we were trying to figure out what to do with the music program. We really didn't have the money to do a music minister. How are we gonna make this work? What can we do? So I went out, talked to pastors, called them, emailed them. I have a family of pastors, so it was easy to get connections. I actually talked and had dinner with the dean of the Wesleyan Seminary in Washington, D.C., and he travels to tons of churches because he's semi-retired now. And he's like, this is what a lot of the Methodist churches are doing, but they're all hurting, they're all struggling. And then the most amazing thing happened. My family is very divided. We're like polar opposites. And then I have my ultra-conservative Southern Baptist brother-in-law. And he said the wisest thing. He says, Jeff, I don't want to offend you, but you're not thinking quite right. You can't just change the music ministry and expect people to come. You can't change the way the pastor preaches and expect the way them come. You can't change the organist. You can't change this. That's not how it works. The thing that brings people to church is feeling loved and cared for. Feeling loved and cared for. Love is a very powerful thing. People will gravitate towards people that they know love and care about them. People will give back and go above and beyond for people they know and love and care about them. People have moved cars off their children because they love their children, not because they're that strong. It is a powerful thing. We don't know how that works or where it comes from, but we know it's powerful. It was the smartest thing he ever said. And my father backed him up. This is a different conversation. My dad said, Jeff, I really don't like my Sunday school teacher. And he goes to church with like 400 people and he's the head deacon, okay? So my dad says, I really don't like the Sunday school class. I'm not getting anything out of it. But my uncle, his brother-in-law, says to him, Johnny Lee, we really miss you at church. We really miss you at church because I love what we put into it. It's not the same without you. All of a sudden, he felt loved and realized it wasn't about him. It wasn't about him at all. It was about his love and interaction with these people and what they had together. I'm going to give a couple scriptures here about love. And I'm not going to sound like a Methodist. I'm probably going to sound a little more like a Pentecostal, but not using Pentecostal stuff, so don't worry. You read this last Sunday. A new commandment I give to you. Love one another as I have loved you. So you also may be love one another. By this, everyone will know that you are my disciples if you love one another. What does that say, paraphrase? It says, you'll be known by the love I give you. You'll be known by the love I put inside you. And all of us, including myself, have stifled that. When COVID first started happening, I stifled that because I was scared, like all of us. I was scared to lose my company. I had a very successful company. I'm going to lose it. What's going to happen? We all kind of pulled back. We got nervous because I don't want to get COVID. We started to pull back, and then even my closest friends didn't call or text message. We all started to pull away and disconnect. Our churches have disconnected. A lot of churches have disconnected, And to a certain degree, we are still disconnected. There are people in this body I have not seen since before COVID. I don't know where they're at. I don't know if they're just home limping around by themselves. I don't know. I need to call them. I need to find out why they are disconnected from the body and tell them I love them and I miss their presence. Actually, I was thinking about you, Mary Jane, the other day. I was thinking, I just actually introduced myself for the first time today to her. And I knew who she was. I love watching her on stage. When she's up on the choir, she makes me smile. It is, even though I don't even know her really till today, it is part of my worship experience. She is part of the body and part of the experience that we come to church for. And those things, those missing things, when they are gone, we feel them. We feel them so much. Whoever does not love does not know God, because God is love. I'm not suggesting to our church that you don't love people. I know this church loves people. I have several people, anytime something happens in church, will message me, Don Pearson being one of them, say, I'm sorry I can't be there this Sunday, but we're there, we're with you in spirit, we're supporting you. I've had several people in church do things and show me love and show me support, and especially Pastor Deb. So it's still happening, but now we need to reach further into our body and start showing more of them love. Last scripture. Now these three remain: faith, hope, and love. What's unique about these gifts? What's unique about them? These are the little threads, these are the little nerves, little veins we don't see. These are the not so showy gifts that doesn't pop out at you, like healing someone or the gift of tongues. It's something that's very quiet and very hidden, but it's powerful. And Paul says these are the greatest. These small little things are the greatest. I think of Leanna, she's not here today. She has been one of the most amazing people I've ever worked with. She'll send me little messages of encouragement or just saying, I really love this. I think this is a great idea. She's always been so positive and encouraging to me and loving towards me. And I really appreciate that. And she's quiet. She's very unassuming. She is one of these things, these hidden things that are important to our body to make it function, to make it run, and make it do what it needs to do. I have 3 challenges for you. I'm almost done. 3 challenges. Your first challenge is pick 5 people in this body you have not seen in a long time. There's a lot of them I probably don't even know. You guys have kind of really gotten to know me the last couple of years through all this mess. So reach out to 5 people. If we all reach out to the same 5 people, that's okay. We have shown them lots of love and lots of concern. So reach out to them. Tell them we love you, we miss you. Tell them why you love them and why you miss them. That will help start to pull those people back into our body. Number 2, your second way to show love today or this week. So Pastor Deb's last Sunday is next Sunday. And I will admit, when she came aboard, all of a sudden COVID happened and I was in a tizzy. And I didn't really get to know her much until last year, but I have grown to love her and appreciate her. And she's been such a source of help and encouragement to me personally. And I have many reasons to be thankful. I'm thankful because I know a lot of churches didn't survive COVID at all. And I'm thankful that though none of us, not even our presidents, knew what to do to get us through this, she still got us through it and we're coming out on the other side of it. So back on the back table by the elevator, there are cards. And what you can do, they're already pre-addressed to her new address and there are stamps there. All you got to do is grab one of them, make sure the stamp's on it. I didn't put them all on there. So just put the stamp on, go home, write her, whatever you're thankful for with her, and just stick it in the mail and send it out. And when she arrives at her new destination and her new spot in life, she will be encouraged by your words of love. Pastor Cal, he will be here the first week in July. So there's 2 things for him I want you to do. Next to the cards for Pastor Deb, there's another stack of cards that say, welcome. I would like for you or your family, I want your kids to be involved in this too. The kids need to be, he's their pastor as well. Have the kids write their own cards. And then have everybody send a thank you note to Pastor Cal. Again, it's pre-addressed to the parsonage. The cards already have everything you need there. There are stamps sitting right there. And send him a welcome note. So when he gets here and he arrives, before he even walks in this door for the first time, he will have felt welcome and he will feel your love. And then lastly, Anthony and I will be back there. Lastly, there's a sign-up board. One of the things, and I am taking blame for this, okay? Because I've done the SBRC for what, 7, 8 years now, a long time. And we have not done good transitioning our pastors. We've not been good with this. And I really want all of us to get to know Pastor Cal as he comes aboard and comes in. I've already talked to him. I have a sign-up board in the back. All I need is your name and either your email address or a phone number, and he will contact you through the course of summer and set up a time to meet with you. Now you decide what you want to do. You can come to his office and visit with him. You can take him to coffee. You can take him to dinner, whatever you want to do. It doesn't matter. I just want you to get to know him. Take time to get to know him. I already have. I've had several conversations on the phone. And once I get back from this wedding I'm going to, I will take him to dinner and get to know him in person better. But I want all of us to actively seek out loving each other. We can't even evangelize the community until we pull our body back in and start re-loving each other again. And my last note to you, and I will pass this back to Pastor Deb. What does it mean to you that the greatest of these is love? Think about it this week. Take the time. You've got your 3 tasks. They're not very hard to do. It'll take you probably 15 minutes maximum to do all those this week. But just think about it. Thank you very much.